Hey friends, it's Trisha here on Freedom Hill. I'm in the kitchen. Today I am making homemade hamburger buns and I wanted to show you how I do that. We're gonna have hamburgers for dinner tonight and I have fallen into the habit of making my own hamburger buns. What I do is I make a big batch, and after they've been formed and ready to rise, I take a good number of them, except for what I need that day perhaps. I put them in the freezer. And then one day when I'm ready to use them, I pull out however how many I need. It's usually 6 or 7, and I thaw them out and bake them that day. So today I need to make another batch. I only have 3 left of the frozen buns, and they're really small, like slider size. So today I want to make bigger ones. So I have my bread machine out and I'm going to make the dough in the bread machine. So let's get started and I'll show you what I do. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I'll link this recipe below, but this is the recipe I'm using and it's from whatscookingamerica.net. And it's just a homemade hamburger buns recipe I printed. So I will link this recipe below. Let's get started. I have my egg sitting in some warm water because I forgot to pull it out of the fridge earlier and it calls for room temperature egg. So I'm just setting it in some warm water and it will be just the right temperature when I need it. It calls for 1 cup of milk that is about 110 degrees. So I took this cup and put it in the microwave for 1 minute and it is about the right temperature. So I'm going to put that in first. Now, the reason I'm using my bread machine and just not mixing this stuff in my mixer is because the bread machine keeps air away from it while it's rising, while the dough is rising. And because I have an air conditioning vent right beside my workspace, I just feel like it's gonna compromise the rising. So when I use my bread machine, it keeps the air out of it and it keeps it confined and it rises better. So there's the 1 cup of milk. It calls for ½ cup of water. So here's my ½ cup of water. And that goes in. So the next thing that goes in is a tablespoon of honey. I took my honey and I turned him upside down so that he would be easier to squeeze out. My honey jar is getting low, so I took the lid off because it wouldn't squeeze out fast enough, and I have 0 patience. 0. Seriously. So that's about a tablespoon. Need to add honey to my shopping list. Now it calls for a ½ cup of butter. I have butter in this Pyrex dish and I keep it out at room temperature at all times. So I'll just take a ½ cup and put it right in there. And now it calls for 1 egg that is slightly beaten. So I'll take my egg, go ahead and crack it. Cracked it in the same measuring cup I had the milk in, and then I will dump that in. The main trick when converting a recipe from a regular recipe to a bread machine recipe is to make sure you add all your wet ingredients first. And in the wet ingredients, I include the salt, which is listed last on the recipe, but I'm going to put the salt in now because salt kills yeast, and the yeast is the last thing to go in. So I want the salt mixed in with all these other ingredients first, and then it doesn't come into direct contact with the yeast. And the sweetener in this case is the honey. On top of this, I need 4½ cups of bread flour. So let's do that now. Because this container has a rather narrow top, I just use like a 2/3 cup and measure it into a 2-cup measuring cup. So I get 2 cups at a time, and then I don't have to worry about it like trying to dig this out of there. So there's 2 cups. And it's give or take a little because I'm not leveling this off, and I realize in baking you're supposed to level things off, but I've made these hamburger buns enough to know it's fine. Just trying to not to make a mess all over my countertop, but I always tend to spill flour anyway, even though I try so hard not to. So that's 4 cups, and it calls for 4½. So another ½ cup. So there's all the flour we need. And the last thing we need is a packet of yeast. I use Fleischmann's rapid rise yeast. I've also used the Aldi brand of rapid rise yeast, and I see no difference in the way it works. If you're like me and you like shopping at Aldi, that's a great option, and it is a little bit cheaper I forgot to pick this up at Aldi, and I was in Harris Teeter. I thought, oh, I forgot yeast. I need to get some. So I got the fleischmanns. And that is it. My dough is ready to go in the bread machine. And let me get that set up. All right, I've plugged her in. And now we'll get the bread dough loaded in. Get it in place, you feel it catch, you twist it to get it to stay. So I will choose my option, choose my cycle, and I want cycle number 8, and that is the dough cycle. And then you just get it started. Soon and very soon, we will have dinner roll dough. So I'll keep you posted as it's gonna work its magic, and it works for an hour and a half. The cycle is an hour and a half long, and then I'll show you when I get to the next step. Here's a progress update for you. It's only been 5 minutes, and already my bread machine has made a very nice ball of dough with the ingredients I gave it. Yeah, that is just about perfect, I would say. Let her keep working. It has reached its first resting/rising stage. The bread machine is nice and warm, not at all hot. It's perfect temperature. Shh, I'm gonna let it rest now. There are 5 minutes left on the cycle, and I thought I would show you how pretty my dough looks. Once the cycle ends, I will let it continue to rise in here for about 15 to 20 minutes to get the best texture. Okay, now it's risen enough for my satisfaction, so I'm going to take it out and do the next steps. I'm going to take my bread flour and just throw some on the counter so that the dough doesn't stick to the counter. I just use my counter. I don't have a special cloth or something to use. Then the dough is fallen down nicely already. So I'm just going to take it out, get a little flour on my hands, take it out of here and plop it onto here. As always, this dough is just beautiful. Look here, it's elastic, it's perfect. It's just going to make a great set of hamburger buns. It's warm to the touch, just ever so slightly warm, which is what I love about the bread machine. When it comes out, it stays warm. So I'm not really going to knead it. I'm kind of flattening it out so that it'll be easy to cut into the rolls I need to make. So let's flatten that out a little bit. Kind of shape it into a rectangle. Last time I made these a few weeks ago, I made 16 rolls. Well, today I'm only going to make 12 because the ones I made before were really the size for sliders, not for burgers. So there we have our dough. I'm going to cover this and let it rest for 10 more minutes. In the meantime, I have taken parchment paper and prepared 2 pans. This is my largest baking pan, and put this pan today will go into the freezer right after the rolls are formed. And then I also covered this stone, put 6 hamburger buns on this that I will then let rise and use for dinner tonight. So my pans are prepped. I'm gonna wait while this dough rests up a little more. So here are the rest of my rolls formed. I will let them freeze for a couple hours, and then I will put them into a plastic bag, and they'll be ready for the future. I'll show you the rolls after I bake them. It is time now to prep the rolls for the oven. I'm going to crack an egg because I want to coat the top. There's my oven timer going on. My oven is preheated. I coat the top with an egg wash, and I'm just going to use the egg. It says to add some water to it, but I see no need because usually this is more than enough, and by the time I break it up and whisk it a little bit, it's fine. So I'll get them out of the microwave. There you go. They look pretty good, don't they? Let me raise my camera up higher. Before I brush them, I'm actually gonna flatten them down a little bit because I want them to be wider rather than taller, and they will rise up a little bit more in the oven. So I'm gonna just flatten them down a little bit so that when they puff up in the oven, they won't be too high. And then I will go ahead and put the egg wash on them. These are now ready for the oven. Let's get them in the oven and let them bake up. They bake at 400 for about 20 to 25 minutes. Trying to film this with something in a hot oven, not the best idea. Okay, I thought I would show you a little bit of the baking. See, they're puffing up, so I'm always glad I punch them down just a little bit. They're gonna be perfect hamburger buns. Here we go. My homemade hamburger buns are ready. Right now they're hot out of the oven, so I can't cut them yet. Once they cool, I will cut them for use. I just love them. Stay tuned to see the whole burger.